Capo versus Styles.
He don't got enough character for that. It sounds like he want to do one with 50 Cent. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like Jim.
Nah, I don't want to do nothing with that stuff. You need to leave him out of the conversation.
Jim Jones and what Jim Jones have done in this game. A lot of these rappers have done a tremendous job, and I take nothing away from them. But they forget, I got a hell of a catalog. Me, Jim Jones, myself. Gold records, platinum records, gold albums, platinum albums. Me, Jim Jones. No diplomats, me, Jim Jones.
Look, y'all know you on that good stuff, but you not seeing Nas. You not Nas, bro. Let's be real. Ain't nobody from Dipset gonna take you over Nas. Nobody from the diplomats but you.
Hey, I got hold on, Jim, hold on.
Bro, you been in this thing, but lyrically, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you.
Yeah,
Y'all
look
ain't
how
ever
you
with
dress.
Nas.
Look how you dress. You don't even be in the same places I be in. And the
But
things
I-
that we,
I can be in the church house. You can't F with Nas lyrics.
I
I don't know who told you that, but you didn't even say that.
Don't do that, bro. That's
Say it.
Hip-hop just became chaotic. Jim Jones' assertion that he is more powerful than Hassan has just ignited a conflagration. The internet is humming nonstop right now. From hilarious podcasts to vintage wiretaps that are being circulated, the drama is rapidly intensifying. 50 Cent even joined in without uttering a single word. Simply dropping receipts made a stronger statement than anything else. Additionally, supporters are already becoming divided while Nas remains silent. So, is there something more going on behind the surface, or is this merely clout chasing? This beef may be about to blow out, so grab some food.
Check everybody else's track record. Then go to the billboards and check all my entries and check all them niggas' entries and shit like that. And I'm not taking nothing away from nobody. I've been spanking a lot of this shit. I'm talking about the industry. I've been putting on.
I got to stick up for himself and meet me in a booth or something if we want to do something historical.
He don't. Nas say he don't do that no more. Nas say he don't do that.
Because he got $100 million. He's a very wealthy man. You heard he's a very smart businessman. You better check my stats, bro. I will run circles around Nas rapping right. I will run circles around Nas rapping right.
My son can't tell you one Nas record. You know, like let's keep it a buck here.
Yeah, but
Like,
let's keep
it a buck. You know, let's keep it a buck because you'll bring it up.
Jim was talking about as far as right now in the clubs and everything is out here. It's more relevant to the kids than Nas. That's what you say. He said to the kids.
I don't care about Nas, though. I care about classics.
But that's what he was talking
You
about.
see when Jay-Z come out in Paris at 25 years old, that's what I care about. I don't
Yes.
care about the relevancy.
Tekashi 66,699 was one of the most popular rappers in the world in 2018. He was boisterous and careless and possessed a recipe for viral success that no one else could match. In a dim alley, a record 6,699 shone out like a neon beacon thanks to its violent New York drill-inspired style, facial tattoos, and rainbow hair. However, it wasn't the music that made him genuinely deadly. It was his connections to Bloods, a 9-tray mobster. The cooperation was successful for a while. 6,699 provided the gang with funding and widespread recognition. The gang provided credibility and safety to 6,699. However, it all fell apart as quickly as it had risen. The federal government intervened in one of the largest racketeering cases hip-hop has ever witnessed in late 2018. Almost every member of the 9E hierarchy was charged with violent offenses, drug use, and possession of firearms. The most flamboyant celebrity in the business was now facing decades in prison. The wiretaps followed. Prosecutors played recordings of Jim Jones purportedly conversing with Mel Murder, a senior 90 member, during the trial. Tekashi's treachery appeared to be the main topic of discussion. His declaration in public that he was severing his connection to the gang. Jim was heard on the tape stating that Tekashi had to be broken, was startling for the streets. In a federal lawsuit, a rap icon known as a Dipset OG was purportedly captured on camera talking about gang business. It was a straightforward assumption. Jim was done if the federal government possessed that audio. However, once the dust settled and the sentences were delivered, an odd event occurred. Tekashi was imprisoned. Harv has decades. Newcomb received years. Jim Jones was left unharmed even when the Mel murder occurred. No charges, no indictment, and no appearance in court. The whispering started at that point, in federal prosecutions. You don't just fade into the background if your voice is heard conspiring against someone in an ongoing RICO prosecution. Lest there's more to the tale, of course. Was Jim safe? Did the federal government turn a blind eye? Or did he have a dual role to play? No one was certain. However, one thing was evident, was not going to go away anytime soon. Soon, the loudest troll in the rap game would ensure its continued existence.
I want nobody to watch what I say, watch what I do. Because in the midst of me talking, still getting up into the bag, I'm still working, I'm still going to the office, I'm still make sure everything has to be done under my roof for me to live and be successful by it. You know what I mean? Like, never forget that bottom line. I'm still doing all the things I need to do in the midst of this circus that y'all see going on. I gotta show you the statistics of what I've done. You heard to what other people was done. You heard them. You want to go to the billboard entries, pull up Nas billboard entries, and pull up my billboard entries.
Listen, we can't get into what I'm trying to tell you.
No, I want to go there.
Hold on.
I want to go down the line now, because now we going down the line.
Jim Jones went on Fat Joe and Jadakiss's. He went on Fat Joe and Jadakiss's podcast and had a lot to say about some dude on the internet that said Jim Jones is better than Nas and has more billboard.
He's a young kid. I think he was like 23 or something, 22, 23. And he was saying that his generation, his era.
Is there anyone in hip-hop who can't help but become involved in drama? 50 cents is the amount. He has been the master instigator for 20 years. 50 has transformed chaos into an art form, from his vicious early altercation with Ja Rule, too, building whole careers out of making fun of Floyd Mayweather for his inability to read. Therefore, 50 didn't waste any time in adding fuel to the flames when the Jim Jones wiretap rumors began to circulate on blogs and forums. Instagram is his approach. He shared a picture of Jim Jones posing with industry titans Fat Joe, Jay-Z, and Diddy. At first glance, the picture appeared to be another star-studded photo. But the wording really made the difference. This person is calling the shots out here. Lol. Please don't say ish to me since I know you're working. That particular phrase wasn't picked by chance. References to an unidentified individual were found in government documents related to the 9 Trey case. Conspiracy theorists and fans immediately made the connection and thought it was Jim Jones. 50 was aware of the inference. Whether or not that was accurate, it wasn't only playing tricks on Jimmy. He was portraying him in front of millions of followers as an FBI informant. Additionally, 50 doesn't stop at one punch. He went one step further and shared excerpts from the real wiretap transcripts in which ATD's purported voice could be heard demanding that Tekashi be reprimanded. 50 wasn't only trolling when he blasted it out. He was spreading a rumor that would harm someone's reputation in the community for all time. It was amusement for 50. For Jim, that may have been the end of his career, because snitch is among the worst labels you may ever be associated with in the hip-hop industry. Additionally, it's to remove the stain once it's on you. However, 50 wasn't the only one who continued to spread rumors. The scenario was going to get 10 times messier due to a louder and more careless voice. Wack 100 has made controversy the cornerstone of his brand. Wack, the game's manager, seasoned businessman, and expert pot stirrer, lives in the liminal space between chaos and reality. Additionally, Wack chose to publicly address the Jim Jones rumors on Clubhouse, the audio app that gave rise to several viral feuds as they began to circulate. Wack 100 struck hard. He accused Jim of being a government informant outright. He made a frank argument. All other participants in those wiretaps were charged. The others were sent to jail. How on earth did Jim Jones get away with it? That can only occur if you are collaborating with them, he continued after that. In discussions, podcasts, and interviews with Tekashi 6699 himself, Wack raised the subject. Actually, one of the most infamous government witnesses in hip-hop history, 6699, was employed by him. As a pretext to blame Jim, Tekashi was the only person who understood how informants worked. And giving the accusations more weight was the fact that he sat next to Wack when making the accusation against Jim. The internet took off. Wack's accusations that Jimmy was a snitch went viral on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thousands of comments flooded in each time. Some admirers took him at face value right away. Others wrote it off as clout chasing. Nevertheless, the harm was done regardless of what individuals believed. The rumor was still going strong. It was becoming louder. Jim was also personally insulted by Wack, who urged him to establish his innocence. He asserted that Jim should make public any documents or declarations to cleanse his name if he was indeed not collaborating with the federal government. The legal system does not operate that way, of course. You are not limited to asking for evidence of what is absent.
People take offense to it. I personally did not take offense just because of the kid's age, of the generation. It's like a sports conversation. Like the numbers are the numbers. But in New York City, with rappers, we don't necessarily go by that.
Yes, Travis Scott is the bigger act, more hits, more numbers, more. But to the rappers, nobody give a fuck about what Travis Scott is talking.
Jim was completely taken aback by that moment. As Fat Joe put it, Nas is like a god in my era. Jim didn't give up, though. He leaned in. He said that he admired Nas as a child. Jim was still in high school when Live first dropped by it. The Cookout, to him, Nas was more than simply another rapper. He was revered. Jim Jones was influenced by his music, style, and wordplay when he was younger. The irony of it all is, the person he previously admired is now the one he is being, most harshly compared to. Jim is utilizing the analogy to rework the story and place himself in the conversation with a legend rather than backing off.
Nobody to watch what I say, watch what I do. Because in the midst of me talking, still getting up into the bag, I'm still working, I'm still going to the office, I'm still make sure everything has to be done under my roof for me to live and be successful of it. You know what I mean? Like, never forget that bottom line. I'm still doing all the things I need to do in the midst of this circus that y'all see going on.
However, established himself in the game. He asserted that he created his own lane. And he is now seen by the younger generation in the same manner that he used to view Nas, as he put it. It's just a different era. He then turned up the heat. Jim claimed that children astonished him by showing him affection when his career took off. He broke it down with figures because many of them were unaware of Nas at all. You were born in 2003 if you are 22 years old. Today, therefore, many newer fans. Jim wasn't only asserting his continued relevance. His larger argument was that he may have a stronger cultural influence on this generation than anything Nas has ever had.
You on that good stuff, but you're not seeing Nas. You're not Nas, bro. Let's be real. Ain't nobody from them saying gonna take you over Nas. Nobody from the diplomats but you.
Hey, I got
Hold on, Jimmy, hold on. Nas, bro, you been in this thing. But lyrically, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you.
Yeah,
y'all
look
ain't
how
happy
you
with
dress.
Nas.
Look how you dress. You don't even be in the same places I be in. The
But
things
I-
that we, listen,
I can be in the church house. You can't influence Nas. I don't know who.
Given that Illmatic Niswen is a poetic icon, bridge legend, and a rapper who is still selling out arenas in his 50s, that is a daring assertion. Jim didn't blink, though. On it, he stood tall. Jim Jones, you know me. No one else, not even Dip. Set, only me. Examine my past performance. Examine the charts on the billboards. Numbers are what I've been doing. People enjoy making comparisons, but when they do so, they become suspicious. Additionally, I've been out here disproving them. And just when you believed he might relax, Don Jim went one step farther. He arrived at Nightcap accompanied by Chad Johnson and Shannon Sharpe. Jim was already back in the limelight and prepared to step up. And the drama from the first episode wasn't even cold. Shannon did not give him a pass. He made a jab to start things off. "Do you smoke, Jim?" Jim chuckled and responded, "Yeah." Shannon then gave him the follow-up. "Were you smoking when you said you were better than Nadas?" Jim chuckled about it, perhaps a small joke, but then quite serious. Jim didn't hold back, stated unequivocally that he was far more powerful than Nas and didn't give a damn about what others thought. He dismissed all of the discussion about record sales, claiming that it didn't define him. He said that he used to want to dress like Nas since the street hustlers were imitating his style. And he gave Nas credit for being dope back in the day with his famous song Illmatic. Nas was even referred to as one of the flyest people ever by him. Jim then turned it around. He claimed that Nas kind of lost him after that, and he never abandoned his core point after that. He had a street effect that Nas never had, Jim asserted. That although Nas was revered, he was always subordinated to artists like DMX and Jay-Z. Jim believed that indicated a stronger cultural pull for him. "I've been more influential than the rapper people call a god," Jim was expressing with this statement. Shannon Sharpe, however, wasn't convinced for a moment. He gave a forceful shove back. Since they weren't even speaking at the same time poetically, Shannon ordered Jim to stop playing. Then, claiming that their circles weren't even near, he scowled. "At Jim, I would still be. You're not that much." The dagger then appeared. "I'm not sure who informed you that you were that man, but—" Shannon didn't just resist, he also cracked jokes. When he claimed to be more influential than Nas, he must have been high. He informed Jim. Jim didn't laugh, declaring the only people mad about his claim were old heads stuck in the past. He punched back, scorching Shannon's tight shirt. He also challenged Shannon to recite legendary Dipset songs with sincerity. Prior to evaluating legacies bar by bar, as the tension continued to build like a heavyweight pea, Chad Johnson simply sat there smiling and officiating. Jim then stepped up his efforts. He said that lyrically he could still outperform Nas today and that he was still performing at a high level. "Look at my statistics. At this moment, I would Nas. At that point, everything blew apart." Shannon was done listening. He claimed that Jim was only stating outrageous things to gain views in an attempt to gain influence. Subsequently, Shannon from amicable to antagonistic. "You have never participated in a larger podcast than this one. Give a larger example. Club. Shay is only accessible while you're creating noise. I do this." The room changed in a matter of seconds. There were no more jokes. The grins went away. Abruptly. Shannon then completely changed the mood. He began acting more like a gym opponent and stopped talking like a podcast presenter. "You really want to see me in the gym?" he said, scolding Jim for his tight shirts. He was serious this time. "I may settle it with weights, aerobics, or anything else," according to Shannon. "Put your money where your mouth is," he advised Jim bluntly. "I'll set you on fire." Like he wanted to win in a different lane, Jim attempted to change the topic of disquies, MHEF, like to change the topic of conversation from rap to fitness. However, 50 Cent was encroaching as he was showing off for the cameras. Behind the scenes, there is silence. Don't post loudly. No dubious captions. Nothing but quiet. Too much quiet? Those who are familiar with. In the meantime, Hall of Fame NFL star Shannon had already sided with NASA. The internet then took off. Digging out old wiretap clips, people began making detective-like connections. It was wonderfully summed up in one viral statement. "What Jada and Fat Joe ought to have done, Shannon did. You have delusions, Jones. I appreciate you sharing the information, Shannon." Jim continued to speak. Shannon persisted. The podcast continued to play, and 50 Cent remained silent the entire time. Not a word. However, in 50, quiet typically denotes strategy. Jim may have persuaded himself into something far more serious than a simple rap feud if the wiretap that was released about him is authentic. The crucial question now was whether Nas would eventually respond with bars or if 50 would remain silent. Bide their time and reveal the truth when Jim is unable to repair the harm. Even the prospect of a Jim Jones diss tune didn't excite fans. An individual on the internet asked, "Where would you even start?" He was kind to him. "In the first bar, what exactly do you say?" They acknowledged that was not an Eminem versus cannabis situation. It didn't seem like poetic conflict. Nevertheless, Jim was respected by others. "You have my respect for receiving your money." This is what, however, truly rocked people's histories. Nas didn't even waste time on Jim in the past. He kept things going while laughing him off stage. And that same energy returns in 2025. The noise is being ignored by Nas on podcasts. Shannon is making fun of Jim. When Jim said that he was more powerful than Nas, he didn't even bat an eye. Rather, he allegedly answered the phone to a person identified as the subject of a legitimate FBI wiretap connected to Tekashi 69. That wasn't just a moniker from the street. It was taken directly from federal court records. And the internet went crazy when 50 shared it on Instagram. Heated arguments, paranoia, and memes. Everything went haywire. One admirer even made the joke that they were hoping no one would discover them. When they were hiding out at the Four Seasons in San Antonio, the paranoia struck so deeply when the individual resurfaced. The streets haven't forgotten, let's face it. Not with Jim acting brazenly on podcasts, criticizing Nas, and making inappropriate remarks. 50 made it clear that he wasn't finished. Even a meme that he had previously removed was republished by him with a razor-sharp comment. Thus, it explains why they possess it. Pulled him in. A fan posted a terrifying warning directly beneath it. "Jimmy, don't say that." The energy was on the verge of breaking, and the warning was loud. However, you must go back to 2019, comprehend why things are so heated right now. At that point, the matter returned to the news. A reporter at the courtroom verified that Tekashi did, in fact, identify Jim Jones as a member of the 9 Trey gang. 50 shared his now famous reply video in the same year, acting alarmed and declaring, "Yeah, Jimmy boy, you should have never brought this up." Fans didn't hold back, and the internet devoured it. Jim are just 3 years apart, and they brought up the irony. However, Jim is battling for recognition on podcast shows, while Nas continues to sell out venues. Supporters began sharing statistics, removing receipts, and warning that Jim Jones could have taken on more than he could handle. "You asked us to look, so here it is," they said. In actuality, the figures are honest. Jim has a catalog. No one disputes that. He has some really powerful songs. There were times when he made noise and when the hip-hop culture in New York heard his name. However, it is not even close when stacked next to Nas. Nas has only been releasing straight-up classics since 2018, after King's Disease. I, 2, 3, Magic, and the follow-up. The guy hasn't slowed down at all, with fans applauding him and reviewers lauding him. Jim has also been putting out songs in the interim. Here's the issue, though. Simply said, people aren't paying attention in the same manner. The streams, the influence, and the cultural significance. It doesn't measure up. 50 Cent entered the picture in a way that only 50 can at that point. When he noticed a gap, he seized it. After throwing shade, he did what he does best. Using sarcasm to make the entire situation humorous. He wrote something along the lines of, "I fear for my life. Jimmy is a member of a gang." The point was that everyone realized it wasn't serious. It was satire cloaked in humor. And the internet devoured it. The comments came pouring in. Memes proliferate. And 50 demonstrated once more why he is among the most influential rappers in history. A diss tune wasn't necessary for him. The culture shook its heads, pointed, and laughed at one post. Jim, meantime, wasn't giggling. Not because he was 50. This time, but rather because the Nas conversation was beginning to seem like a setup. People noticed that he was twitching. Nas had never taken this opening previously. He said nothing about Jim for years, refusing to acknowledge the pokes, or the shade, or contemplate the analogy. However, Jim was now giving him the ideal pretext to enter the stadium. This was Nas. Cue to do so if he so desired. You have to turn back time in order to truly comprehend why this particular moment feels so tight. This drama is not limited to the present. It goes back more than 10 years, specifically 2007. At that point, Dipet was inconsolable. Egos were clashing and alliances were changing. During a Geonic performance, 50 Cent unexpectedly asked Jim Jones and Joel Santa to take the stage. On the surface, it appeared to be friendliness, but to Cam, it was outright disdain. Cam felt deceived. It was like to seeing your team covertly join forces with your adversary. That action sowed the seeds for conflict to grow. Years later, Dashi 6ix9ine's notorious case made news, and a detail hidden in the wiretaps rekindled the controversy. During a call, Jim Jones was called Individual 1. Jim was never prosecuted and nothing remained illegal. However, perception is crucial in hip-hop. Just that label generated many discussions. Spying, rumors began to circulate. There were memes everywhere. Jim's name was in the heart of controversy once more. At first, he remained silent and let the internet speak for itself. He finally broke his silence, though, posting a vintage Bird Gang photo along with the words, "Why do you keep lying? I'm heading back to sleep, lol." Free male matrix until the opposite is true. It was more than nostalgia. It was jammed, was pointed directly toward 50. Criticizing him for promoting stories that weren't consistent with reality. Jim essentially stated, stop making things up, give up existing in a cartoonish depiction of the streets. He didn't stop there either. He returned with a new post, this one from the gym, sweating, flexing, and posting pictures in the description. Tell Shannon Sharpe not to duck now, he said, singling out Shannon Sharpe of all people. I was called out in front of everyone by you. Do it now. While most rappers would have dismissed it, Jim went all out. Let's take it private if it wasn't going to be a public challenge, he remarked. We don't duck, even if I know your representatives are on the line. Where I come from, size doesn't matter. Run it? It was more than simply stern lecture. Jim seemed to be preparing for battle and ready to show his mettle to anyone who dared approach him. In the meantime, 50A sat back like a puppet master, laughing, manipulating strings, making snide remarks, and allowing the drama to develop without doing anything. That is what makes the 50 Cent game so brilliant. He doesn't have to dump this after disc or go all out. He is skilled at stirring things up and then letting the fire grow naturally. Jim wasn't finished, though. He returned with yet another message, and admirers were giddy over it. You've already lost if you're over 40 and arguing with me about Nas, he remarked. You guys were duped. My streams increase each time something becomes popular. The old heads are learning how to sell from me. You guys are mired in the past. I'm angry at the way the game now operates. Tighten up. Interpretation. Jim claimed that the argument itself didn't really interest him. The drama was business to him. His name gained popularity as more individuals got into arguments. In the digital age, the more streams he drew, the better. Additionally, he was using the situation to get more attention. Then the final line appeared. He concluded by saying, I said what I said. P.S. If an artist from my time wishes to enter the booth, I'll make sure they do. Bring cash. It's not a free game. We're outside. We work every day. The gauntlet was being thrown like that. He was now discussing more than simply Nas. He was criticizing his generation as a whole. In the early 2000s, anyone who believed they could out-rap him was formally encouraged to give it a shot. It was audacious. It was dangerous. And the enthusiasm was just what makes hip-hop so exciting. Here's the crazy thing, though. Not a single word has been uttered in any of these posts, videos, or captions. Not even a phrase slipped into a freestyle, not a subtweet, and not a mysterious Instagram post. Nothing. And quiet is that. Jim hasn't been publishing anything as loud as this. Fans are aware that it won't simply be a bad song if Nas does choose to reply. It is going to be a masterpiece, an exquisitely created piece of art, the type that only Nas can produce. But until then, Jim is shouting into thin air. He is asserting his influence. He is making fun of the elderly. The legends are being challenged by him to enter the ring. However, in the absence of a reaction, it is beginning to resemble shadowing rather than supremacy. In the meantime, the internet is having a great time, making fun of the Jim like it's Sunday supper. The culture is watching with popcorn in hand. Meme websites are eating and fans are making jokes. Here we are. Then, ECH is set. The tension is genuine and the tea is boiling. Jim is not going to back down. Nas doesn't say anything, and 50 is still tugging strings from the sidelines. But as soon as he does, the game is over. That type of action changes the society, reverses the story, and ends the entire discussion with a single verse. What do you think then? Is Jim speaking the truth, or is he hallucinating? Post your opinions in the comments section. Let's continue the discussion. You may stay up to current on this story by hitting the bell, like, and subscribing to the channel. This will ensure that you don't miss any updates. Because this narrative is far from over, I assure you. We're in front. Hip-hop history is being told in row 2, and the upcoming chapter could be the most significant one yet. Keep an eye out. Be prepared. Be prepared.